Welcome to Coffee and the Weather Map with Jeff. It's quite a busy sort of day here today as far as the weather's concerned. Things have slowed down for me personally as we are in the process of buying a boat, and we'll have more on that here towards the end in a new segment that I'm going to be doing. In the meantime, we are going to take a look at the weather, so let's get started here. We have on the 5 a.m. surface map, that's Eastern time, we have a cold front that stretches down out of northern Quebec into northern Michigan, and with a small little low up near, at least that's what WPC has done, analyzed it up there by Sault Ste. Marie, another secondary one back along the front near Green Bay, and then that front continues to sag down through the Central Plains, coming back up to the north west to a low in Wyoming. These will be some of the major features that we'll be taking a look at. Otherwise, we do have a sort of setup right now of, I wouldn't call it a ring of fire, but the subtropical high is kind of built into the eastern part of the U.S. And so we do have moisture and the setup for nocturnal thunderstorms. You can see in the Dakotas, there's an area low pressure up there with a trough. So enough to kick off things. And then if you've all been following the news, there's been some very heavy rains in Texas over the last couple of days. And it's been so sad to hear with what's been going on there, especially down towards Kerrville and that area, which is not far. It wasn't in the Corpus Christi forecast area, but it's not far from our area. So that was something sad that we have heard about. Otherwise, on the map, we do also have Tropical Storm Chantal, and at 9Z, 5 a.m., it had made landfall, looks like somewhere right around Myrtle Beach or North Myrtle Beach area, and then it is affecting a lot of that area from roughly about Myrtle Beach up north towards, I don't know if it's getting quite to Morehead City there at the southern end of the Outer Banks, but it is getting inland there, but around a lot of heavy rain being reported around the Wilmington area. And that will be one of the other main weather makers here for the next couple of days. All right, looking at the upper air, one of the reasons we do have some of the rain and issues here in the north is due to the pretty flat sort of almost zonal flow. And zonal just means going from west to east. And so there's just a basic jet stream is just going right across the northern tier of the United States into the upper Great Lakes and then up into New England. And so when we get to the SPC and the WPC outlooks coming up here in a little bit, that we will see some of the reasons why this is what is occurring and where everything's going. Otherwise, down to the south, you can see that low on the Carolinas, that's Chantal, and then there's another upper level low in the Gulf that is helping to at least keep a lot of the showers and thunderstorms still going along that area as well. And we just kind of take a look, start off with the floater version, or the floater sector of Chantal, and these are 1 minute intervals, so that it moves kind of slow. You can see for the most part the main part of the storm is on shore. Looks like there is an outer band that kind of stretches down out of North Carolina and into the Gulf Stream just off of South Carolina there, taking some of that moisture in there. But because of the fact that it's on land, things should start to wind down here, although heavy rain is going to be the main threat out of this one. It will eventually start to entrain some of the dry air that comes down off of the land from the south and then into the southeast sector of the storm. All right, pivotal weather. We can just kind of take a quick look at that. This is the latest of the GFS, and we can see some of those get things a little bit moving here. We got showers, thunderstorms, the upper Great Lakes that kind of go into that low, get into Maine and New England. That's going to be an issue coming up here, so that by tomorrow evening, we'll have this basic idea. So they'll have the heavier rain or steadier rain that's associated with everything in northern Michigan now over in New England. We are in that, dare say, ring of fire. So we do have another set of nocturnal thunderstorms that will try to move across the northern tier of states there in the plains and then down into the central plains before they start to fall apart. Pretty typical. And then looks like we may be done with a good portion of the rain there in Texas eventually here, probably within the next 24 hours. So we'll hope for that so that rescue operations can continue unhindered. All right. I decided to start with the main. Here we go. Oh, and now I've changed my. Okay, back to until 12Z. So until 12Z, they still have a fairly. There is a marginal, not marginal, a moderate, at least a 40% chance of exceeding flash flood guidance. And based on this, let's see if I can. We will. Oh, wrong direction. No. That's the direction I want to go. Okay, good. Change the opacity on here on the fly. You see that area, which is, I believe, there's San Angelo, Killeen, Temple. It's up there in that San Saba region, I believe. Is I'm not as familiar with that particular part of Texas. Once you get north of San Antonio and Austin, I'm not as well versed. As you look down further south in South Texas today, really have no threat of excessive heavy rain. It's marginal in the San Antonio area. Then they have the slight risk going up into the area, at least currently. This is through 12Z. So 12Z is 7 a.m. in the Central Daylight Time Zone. The rest of the day, though, things do continue out here. Let's see here. Yeah, so it goes roughly from North Texas, which is up there by the Dallas-Fort Worth area, along the Edwards Plateau, and then down into the Rio Grande Plains as we get closer to the Big Bend region. And that area, which has been affected the most, there from San Angelo to almost Austin and San Antonio, and now stretching north into Dallas, has been under the gun here since at least the 3rd of July. We know everything that happened on the 4th. Anyways, if we kind of zoom back out here, we can see Chantal there in the east. That's the other slight risk area, and that is not quite into the mountains. The mountains themselves are a little bit further west of Charlotte and Greensboro in North Carolina. That is the Piedmont, so it is somewhat hilly, and it does start to slope up from the coastal plain there as you go through there from Raleigh through, let's see there, areas just east of Charlotte, Fayetteville, North Carolina, Florence, South Carolina, that pretty typical area. Along the coastal areas, though, Myrtle Beach, Wilmington, Jacksonville, New Bern, that's all in the marginal right now, so that's at least a 5% chance that there is could be excessive rain that is exceeding flash flood guidance. And you just have to watch for thunderstorms in those areas. If the if they just hang in one spot. And with tropical systems, that's always the possibility that you would just get thunderstorms that would just continue over the area. I did want to take a look a little bit at the radar across there. I kind of would brush through it a bit, and then I forgot to go through it on my notes. You can see the where the fronts are kind of lined up with, try to show what's going on. We have that front that stretches down here into the UP and then down, sags into Kansas, and then it comes back up here. And though that's where all you notice, that's where most of the main rain areas are, except for that ring of fire that I said. So there's a high here that's feeding moisture up here. Also, part of it was what was left of Tropical Storm Barry. This moisture around the Dallas and now the Edwards Plateau. That part of that was leftover remnants of Tropical Storm Barry. So there's a lot of moisture still in the atmosphere up there. That's why they're still getting hit with showers, thunderstorms, and having the. Actually, if we kind of zoom in on that, I have to turn off the illustrations there. You can see there's still another flash flood warning that's at least in effect, and the damage threat is considerable. So we can kind of look at that a little bit. Central Mason County in West Texas. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on. That's in the San Angelo office area, just north of where San Antonio, Austin, or New Braunfels picks up. So roughly, I think it's north of this line, or maybe this line. This is all, this is San Angelo's, SGT, and this is EWX's. Okay, so we'll back out. And then as I mentioned, a little bit about the rain around Chantal. And we'll put this into motion. You can kind of see center of circulation is somewhere in here, right around the Myrtle Beach area. And most of the rain's going to occur on that northeast side. And there's the rain band I was talking about that stretches out over the Gulf Stream. There's still some more heavier stuff that is also trying to move up over the Outer Banks. So this whole area, if we switch back, you can see the rain going almost all the way up into the Virginia Capes, and then obviously then up into the mountains there as you get in between Richmond and Roanoke. That's the discussion. Okay, so on the storm prediction side of things for severe weather, as I kind of mentioned earlier, we have it's a little bit more limited. Things are kind of starting to calm down a bit from what they were earlier in the week. We do have a marginal risk in Maine with that front that kind of stretches down into the Great Lakes. We'll see the southeast part of Michigan and northern Indiana and a little bit of northwest Ohio in another marginal, which is also along that front that we kind of looked at. And we can kind of go back to that. The fronts, as they move later today, are expected to move down into those areas. Otherwise, then you've got the front that's associated with that low out in Wyoming, and that's the next area that we've got that will be going. And as that kind of slides around and we get some of that moisture up into eastern New Mexico and the panhandle of Texas, there's at least a marginal threat there. But the slight risk is where we have the issues. Looking at it, there's a 2% chance for within 25 miles of a point for a tornado in that area. The big thing is going to be the wind, especially high winds. Let's see, the crosshatch area, I'm trying to remember, is, I think winds, hatch, 10% or greater of winds greater than 65 knots. And that's about 70 miles an hour. So we're looking at 70 to 80 mile an hour winds possible in that hatched area. Otherwise, you have a 15% chance of wind damage from 50 knots or greater within 25 miles of a point in that yellow area. And hail's kind of the same thing. So we're looking at greater than a 10% or greater probability of 2-inch hail within 25 miles of a point there in Wyoming and western Nebraska. All right, so that's for today with SPC. I didn't want to spend too much time on a lot of this stuff. Otherwise, we'll take a look a little bit at the Tropical Storm Chantal information. They have their key messages. Do still have tropical storm conditions. Winds were gusting pretty good here earlier. Noticed that there were some 50 to 55 mile an hour winds going. Heavy rain across portions of southeastern or northeastern South Carolina will cause flash flooding concerns, and across portions of North Carolina through Monday. Isolated to scattered flash flooding could occur within more urbanized areas, especially there along the coast. Chantal is expected to bring life-threatening surf and rip currents. We can take a look at that. Here's the rip current idea here. So they got a high risk, basically north of, looks like Myrtle Beach area. There's Charleston. Oh, Myrtle Beach is up there. Oh, it's probably around, yeah, there's Georgetown. Yeah, kind of at a break there with where the Charleston and Wilmington, Carolina offices meet. Just south of Georgetown. And anything north of that up by Chantal and Myrtle Beach has been pretty much in a high risk for rip currents. I think that's also where we're seeing the peak surge. South Santee River, that would make sense. That's about where the high risk goes to, up through Surf City, North Carolina, with surges with Chantal of 1 to 2 feet. Let's see here. Wind speed probabilities here for through the rest of the day. This is for tropical storm force winds, so greater than 35 miles an hour, or 34 knots, I should say. Is pretty much there within the area from South Carolina to up into southern North Carolina along the coast. Just to take a look at the warnings, there's the tropical storm warning still. It is expected to be a depression after it made landfall around 5 a.m. this morning, and it becomes a depression here pretty quickly. Yeah, it still says tropical storm on this. Otherwise, it would say tropical depression. But it should be a depression by the time it gets up near Raleigh, which looks to be probably around 2 p.m. this afternoon. Okay. So kind of to sum up at least the local forecasts, in northern Michigan, because that's one of the places that I try to keep an eye on, we have... Today, we'll have numerous showers and thunderstorms across most of northern Michigan and the Upper Peninsula. Temperatures will be much cooler. We have 69 to 81. I know here where we're at, which isn't too far from Gaylord, is going to be in the lower 70s across the area, at least for a high temperature today. And it looks like it's going to be pretty rainy. There's a lot of rain that's been around the area this morning. But as we get into the next couple of days, temperatures will slowly start to warm up and things will dry out a bit. There's a chance for showers on Wednesday, but it looks pretty sunny on Thursday as we head in towards the weekend so far. Looking down in South Texas, they have showers expected, but it's a low chance. So we're looking at somewhere around 15 to say 40% at the most. Most of that's going to be along the coastal plains. So basically, you're on the Victoria Crossroads. And so you're looking at places like around Victoria, down to Beeville, to Alice, and everything east of that, which would include Corpus Christi, Rockport, and Port Lavaca. Looking at the 5-day outlook, you'll see that the chances for rain continue to decrease, and most of that's probably going to be along the eastern part of the forecast area, which would be closer to the coast and the middle Texas coast. So that by Wednesday, we're down to a 5 to 20% chance. Temperatures should maintain the 90s, which is not uncommon for this time of year. Heat index values, however, with all the moisture, are going to be over 100. So, you need to use caution anytime during this next week if you're outdoors and practice heat safety. The air quality could be a concern, as we are expecting another plume of Saharan dust. And I'll have to make a note of that to take a look at the Saharan dust model data coming up here for the next couple of days. And then that's, I have one more thing to cover. All right. I was almost about ready to wrap everything up. Okay, so I got to find my handy dandy, there it is, cruiser map. All right, so the new segment that I'm going to introduce here shortly, this is the introduction to it. However, I probably won't make a forecast for any of this yet. I'm still gathering kind of my resources on how to get the various forecasts that I need for the Great Loop. If you're not familiar with the Great Loop, it is a path that leads, let's see if I can kind of zoom in. This map only shows part of it when it gets to a certain zoom level. There we go. Well, there's part of it. And you don't have to follow this strictly. Some people come down northern Michigan, but if you follow it, you can come down here to Chicago by boat. This is all by boat. It's a Great American Loop. You go down the Illinois River into the Mississippi, and then up the Ohio River here it is, down by Cairo, Illinois. And then you take a right turn into the Tennessee River, which takes you down to the the Tennessee Tom-Bigby Canal, which then takes you to the Tom-Bigby River, and kind of brings you out to Mobile, and then you can move across here. There's along the Gulf Intracoastal Waterway. Eventually, you got to get around the Big Bend of Florida, where there is no barrier islands to have the Intracoastal Waterway there. So then you pick it back up down by Tampa. And you have a couple of choices of routes. You can cut across, there's a canal that cuts across southern part of Florida through Lake Okeechobee, and then out on the east side of Florida there north of West Palm Beach. Or you can go down into the Keys and then up into the Intracoastal Waterway for the Atlantic around Miami. And it continues up into the Carolinas, up into Chesapeake Bay, over to Delaware Bay, and then up the east coast of New Jersey. And then you've got a couple of choices here. You could either go up the Atlantic and go all the way up into the St. Lawrence Seaway, but that seems a bit much to get around there. Not many people do that unless they have really good ocean-going boats on there. Otherwise, you go up the Hudson River, and there's a couple other spots that you can go. This one is showing the most frequently taken, which goes, you take a left turn at Albany and into the Erie Canal. As you get partway through the Erie Canal, there's another canal that goes north into Lake Ontario. Some people go up into Ontario, and then that's the Trent Severn Waterway. Don't think we're going to quite probably do that. We are probably going to go into Lake Erie, when we do ours, you can also go up the Hudson River. There's another canal that connects the Hudson River system with the one that dumps out into the St. Lawrence Seaway here, up by Montreal. And then you can move down the St. Lawrence River into Lake Ontario that way. And then you can just come back around, and then you're back in northern Michigan. So that is the idea. What my plan is to take certain segments of it. Specifically, I'll kind of lump the Great Lakes together. I'll probably do the northern and middle part of the Mississippi River, and then the lower Mississippi and the Tennessee Tombigbee areas. They should be relatively close. Then I'll talk a little bit about the Gulf. In this case, this map says the Gulf of Mexico. Must be an older map. Go around the Florida area, might hit the Bahamas a bit, and then we'll talk about the forecasts along the coastal areas up the East Coast and back around to the Great Lakes. So that's the idea. I may have to end up doing this as a separate cast, but we'll see how we take care of that in the upcoming days. All right. And with that, I'm going to close out, and you have yourself a wonderful day.